Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 223, September 2025, Sacred Birthing. The future of our babies is determined by our voices, actions, and instincts. What is sacred birthing? How does a mother follow her instincts while having past trauma and fears? How can we support birthing in today's world of over-intervention and AI? What does mother and baby really need? I have special guests and I always get so excited. Welcome, Sunni.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So I always like to talk about how my guests come to be, and this came to be through another birth professional hunting down Sunny for months, trying to get her energy to come into this space, and I'm very excited to welcome her. And so I'm going to read a little bit about her. Sunny Carl is an author of Sacred Birthing, Birthing a New Humanity, and this is a work that addresses newborn trauma, but more importantly, more importantly, how not to create trauma at birth. It includes a handbook for parents, midwives to accomplish this end. She also has other books besides Sacred Birthing, Conceiving Souls of Magnificence, Pearls of Sacred Birthing, and Making Love to Source. And I'm going to read just a little piece of her bio that's more in her reflection. At 10, I told my mother that I was going to deliver babies where I grew up. In 1979, I founded the Lancaster Waldorf School in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. For the next 6 years, I taught kindergarten and found this very young children at ages 3 to 6 were already wounded. This was a surprise to me, and soon I was shown that these wounds were formed in the womb in the period from conception through birth and was also directly related to the child's birth trauma. And a little bit more about her. In the process of resolving my very own trauma, near-death birth, I was unknowingly pushed me towards my life's passion. And since 1994, I have been practicing midwife, helping parents to understand the importance of pregnancy and birth and how it affects the entire life of their child. I've delivered many babies in a way that supports and allows their vast consciousness to be accessed as a newborn and child. When birth is gentle and non-traumatic to the physical and emotional body, only then is the highest consciousness maintained. Ooh, thank you, Sunny, for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to meet you finally.
Yeah, and I have to say, so I was going through your website and there were some things coming up, and I actually shared your post about cords wrapping around babies' necks in the Facebook page to see what people's thoughts were. And you have really beautiful conversations about different topics and things. And I want to I'm going to share something. When I was going through your website, I actually felt emotion.
Good.
Like, yeah, I felt like something touching a deeper part of my own inner infant, which is always healing. And I just hit my 50th birthday, and I still feel like there's layers of wounds coming through, like I don't know. And yet I've come so far. But I had a moment and I was like, I actually feel like your website is energetically pulses something. And I felt it in a very personal way. And so yeah. So when those that are tuning in, it's not just words on a website. People don't understand that there's energy, and what you have brought the children and parents throughout the years, I mean, is just incredible. And I
Yeah.
want to begin to, I want you to tell us about the infant. I love this term you used. What was it? Born softly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soft birth. That was that was coined because there were so many, not so many, actually. people were newly working with babies who were wounded at birth. And I kept saying, let's create a birth that doesn't wound them, that they don't need to heal all their life when they grow up, because the inner work that you do as an adult is right there in your birth. So let's have a birth that doesn't create that.
Mm. A midwife not told me probably a few years ago, which I thought was really interesting. You're a midwife, you're very experienced and how did she say this? It was like I said to her, I used the term, let's have trauma-free birth. And she was kind of trying to tell me, well, then you're already putting the trauma out there. Because I said, I felt like in the timeline we're in these past 5 years, we have to like, what's the midwives, the doctor, what's the trauma rate like? But she made it seem like, what do you think about that? I know, I mean, is trauma on the rise? Is it not? Or is it just that we're just more aware of it? What is your perspective of that?
Well, I use the word harmless. Let's have a harmless birth, because the trauma is so, it's in every birth, almost every birth. If you are interfered with in a hospital, that's trauma. It's trauma to the baby. And if you, and any of the protocols are interrupting the baby's natural flow and the flow with the mother and father, so there are different degrees of trauma, of course, but most of it is let's do something different, and the differences are by raising the vibration of birth. If
Mm,
you can create a birth at home where it's not interfered with. They're no strangers. The mother's in her power. The father is in his power. They feel good about loving each other. There's nobody to be ashamed of in front of. All of the people there or nobody is invited guests. So there are such easy ways to minimize problems and to allow the baby to come in unharmed.
I like the way you said that about harm. That does seem more gentle too. It's like, can we bring children in harmless ways? And you're right. Like, many adults that friends, and I actually had a friend that's coming to my mind right now who he he never really thought about his birth. And then we started, I don't know, it came up in a conversation and I started sharing all my stuff and he was so blown away. He's like, I never really thought about like my birth and who I am and how it has created me. And it was like really powerful because he was being so educated in that space to a point where it was bringing him his own level of healing, right? And and I do feel like on some level, like, yeah, I mean, most babies are born traumatically, and maybe can we say less more now because of home birth and free birth, or no? Can we say that? What do you think?
Well, home birth definitely is a help. And free birth has their own problems unless they have somebody with them that's, I feel, a very experienced doula. That's wonderful. Pick somebody that you love and who's given birth herself and who's seen a bunch of births, a lot of births. And then you have somebody that is really helpful to you, because your brains aren't there when you're in labor. Your brains are in your uterus. Don't think,
Yeah,
oh, I need a sweater, or oh, I need to drink. I need to pee. You just are in your bubble as it should be.
yeah.
You know, somebody to hand you a glass of water, if you don't want it, they just turn away, but usually they will drink it. And that's important not to get dehydrated in labor.
Mm.
Yeah. So certain things are simple but important.
I do love like for me personally, like having midwifery care was just To me, that was like they were like God and goddess energy, like just really felt so present and cared for. And I know that's what I really needed. Like for me, anything medical felt like fear, felt like terror, felt like takeover. And so I was very aware of that. And though I do talk a lot on a lot of the podcasts more recently about free birth, because I do feel like it's a consciousness we have to really welcome in, whether we do it or not. And I love these women I've connected with, and I go, I wish I could be that free birther. But I know that I don't, I think because I didn't have a very good mom connection in this reality and a lot of trauma, that I need that like mother
Yeah,
in this
of
space. Yeah, the midwife, the mother, right?
course you needed that with your birth, you know. So and free birth is wonderful. I think it is the population saying, no, we're not going to put up with this hospital crap anymore. And we're going to take it in our own hands because we can do it better. Even if some of us end up in the hospital anyway, it's still a statement, and it's a strong one. And there are not many people ending up in the hospital anyway.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing. Yeah. So, you know, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and I know people were going to be offended by it, but like hospital births, I feel like when we go to hospital births, we have to be okay knowing that we're birthing with a high level of fear. It's just the truth, and I'm not saying that you're a bad person for hospital birthing. It's a consciousness that we're trying to restructure collectively, but it's where you go when the fear is the highest, and even if you're like transferring over there's old energy. There's old energy gunked up in there, and then but you do the best you can. And many know I've had a home birth transfer to a hospital, which was very. It's a story that I'll have to tell you sometime. It's a long story, Sunny, but I've had that experience, and so much was so telling, and it was very highly like not positive after. I was not in a good space with having my child and not feeling bonded and connected. And so, but then doing a lot of deep work for years and really rebuilding the outside world together is what we were doing, me and my son. And then opening to another baby, I was like, am I crazy? Like, this is the whole story's, you can't help but think the whole story is going to be the same. And it was like 100% different. And it was so profound to be at home, to just really step into my body in a way that, it was different and I showed up for it and it is really telling in his body of being and how he sees the world and how my number one thing was like sickness is the life I went through with sickness and to see my child never sick is like incredible like and I tell people that's called home birth when you don't wash their body and we didn't wash him for 2 weeks and there's nothing gross about that. He's not dirty. We kept all that. And so when I'm not kidding, he's going to be 9, by the way, and which is exciting. He, if he gets sick, it's like 24 hours. He doesn't get sick. He's just not. And that consciousness I know is very different, but that birth is like really, I feel is important. And like I know many that are like, oh my gosh, I had a traumatic birth or this sucks. And what can you say about people that want to repair? Like you've worked with infants after like trauma? What have you seen and how can parents repair that or what can they do? What do you yeah.
What can you do? You can immediately talk to the baby. As soon as you're alone with that baby, or you're always alone with it because you just put your bubble around it and you say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This isn't what I envisioned. This is this is so different. I wanted this for you, and this is what happened. And now you know, let's make the best of it because it hurts, and I don't want you to hurt. And you say the truth. You tell your truth about, oh my God, you must hurt, you know? And as soon as that baby hears those words are the truth. And the feeling in the body is that it hurts. And as soon as the words and the feelings match, then the baby can move through it. But when they can't, and oh, you're such a beautiful baby, everything's wonderful, and then it's the baby's going, but, so yes, right away, talk to the baby and keep talking to the baby and talk to them as you're nursing. Talk to them when as they fall asleep. Talk to them a lot. And sometimes they'll just go, or sometimes they'll look totally bored, then you're off base. That's great. You can, sometimes they'll poop, sometimes they'll yawn, sometimes they'll do whatever, but that's them releasing
Mm.
the stuckness, the patterns, the part that hurts. Just let them do it. Don't try to go, oh, happy baby, don't try to stop them. Let them do what they need to do to release that.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I know a lot of people may be feeling like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do now? And something that you've said, I've said this before too, is can we have the conversation with our own energy of honesty? And it's interesting, people don't think of that, right? Because baby is energetically, telepathically, physiologically in communication with us, and we're trusting that. And something you just said, I just was working with a family and the baby was born through forceps.
Mhm.
And I said in the session space, I said he can be there. He doesn't have to be there. We were like working with the family, but he really wanted his mom, and I'm like, that's fine, let's do that. But then I said, you're holding him, and just so you know, right now, I want you to share a little bit of his birth story, but just, this is where we're trying to like learn about the attunement, right? And I said he may have a feeling about it, and he did.
Of course.
He started crying. And I said, well, here's where we then get to talk. And it's not like, I know with these interventions that they're unnecessary. Like we know that a lot of them are unnecessary, but then there's the imprint of like being held by metal or being, medicated. It's like coming through that. And I know probably you and probably me, I could see babies after they're in the world or whatever, like, nieces and nephews, and I'm looking at this little baby going, oh boy, they're
Yeah.
like kind of like out of it, drugged out, they're not really sure. And like, what is this consciousness that people don't see it? Like, what can you say? That's a really big question, but what can you say about that?
It is thought that babies are a lesser consciousness because they're little, and people still don't realize that this baby is so vast, so big, so much beyond you and me and the parents, and we should treat them like our teacher, our guru. Teach me what you're here to why you're here. You
Mm,
and it just is, we need to wipe away that attitude of they're just little dumb little things because they can't talk, and it's not true. And I forgot the other question.
no, and you're making me think about, so 2025 is so much different than when you started this work and bringing it forward. How was it received back? How was it received?
um, it wasn't. I was too ahead of my time. There were certain parents, of course, that were right there with me. But I was in Kauai, and there were the parents that got it, and they got it on such a deep level. It was what allowed me to keep going, because their comments were like, "Oh my God, okay, this wasn't for nothing," you know,
Mm.
and it was a joy to my heart. And and yet it didn't do anything for years. It was out there, and my feeling is now that it has just gone into the ethers
Mm.
and is now starting to catch on, and people are going, oh, is that what it's about? Okay. Yeah.
It fascinates me because we were talking before, of course, I always like to talk to before and after, and that feeling of like, because I know I'm like, wow. I mean, 2020, the past 5 years, people have become more open, right? And consciousness is changing, whether people want to realize it or not. It's too bad. Like it's happening. To me, some people that are in a space where they don't understand it, it's like a light switch. One day it's just going to be on. Where I know a lot of, it's true. And a lot of people maybe are ahead of it, like seeing things going, okay, because you're imprinting that into consciousness way before. So other people then are kind of opening and expanding into it. And I think, yeah, it's so meaningful, incredible. Good.
You feel it when you pick up the book. That's why you felt it in the web page.
Right.
Because when I was writing it, I didn't feel it was from me at all. I felt it was from
Mm,
nature, and that nature
mm, I
finally had
love it.
and so that's who the sacred guardians are. They are nature. So nature is what's right here. So why not invite nature into your birth, into your pregnancy, into your
Mm,
conception, so that you can have the ultimate in coherence about this baby, about this being, and who it is and what it wants, and how you can supply that for them. How do you get answers? How do you, it's all in the book, because I wanted to offer it to people so that they could do it on their own. And those are the best comments, the ones that go, "Oh my God, our first baby or our third baby or whatever is we did just with your book. We didn't even open another book."
oh, I love it.
It's very meaningful to me. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I know I got introduced to your book a long, long time ago, as I was sharing earlier in my studies, and now I kind of I need one for my bookshelf. So I'm gonna be maybe I can get you to autograph one. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Well, there's a new one, even though it
Oh, a
says
new edition. Okay, yeah.
and it's 2025.
Oh,
So
nice. Oh, yeah. Let's show us. Nice.
it's 2025, even though it says third edition, because the lady
Yeah.
who put it on the computer lost it. So instead of
Wow.
the whole thing again, it still says third edition. But
I
it's
love this. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I love what you said. Like, I remember, so my children are 14 and just about 9. And 14 years ago, I didn't read any books, but the only book I read was Birthing from Within. I don't know why. I realized there's too much, especially in 2025, there's way too much information for people. But I love that, like, you literally speak my language of nature. Like, let's come back to instincts and nature. And those that are tuning in that are pregnant, I challenge you to just get Sunny's book and don't read anything else. Like, I'm serious. Like, see how that would feel. Like, what is that connection? And again, you're reminding me of like, our internal wired instincts are already here.
Mhm.
Like we know, like even I've joked and I've said, my kids go to Dr. Mom.
Good one.
And then the second one to that is friends' moms.
Uh-huh.
My community, like if things are happening. And there were some things happening, like my kid went to a Waldorf school and there was like a lot of sickness and things and quarantines and all this weird stuff. And yeah, it was happening. And I was like, okay, go to the moms. Like I had this one mom, she had a lot of kids. Oh my gosh, she should have just opened a business and been like our doctor. She was amazing. And then I say we go down that like ladder of like, oh, Eastern, which would be acupuncture, chiropractor for the kids. And then the last on that list for me would be the other model of conventional, or I don't know what we call it now, conventional, Western, I don't know. But you see how we did that, everybody? The ladder goes this way. um, and
And when
guess
you
what? Yeah.
have birth, it is so natural to become Dr. Mom. When you have a home birth, you are the expert. You don't give it
Mm,
off to somebody else as you do when you're in a hospital. You know,
mm,
I just had somebody born in a hospital, a person, but and in 5 days they're off to the pediatricians. Well, there's nothing,
mm.
but they don't trust themselves,
Yeah.
and it's kind of implanted when you have a hospital birth. It's just
Mm,
a natural residue that's left. You don't know any better.
mm.
Experts, when you have a problem.
See, and that's the thing that like drives me crazy because I think I've worked hard to leave that system, right?
Mhm.
I have because I'm not gonna people know this. I had medical abuse, I would say, as a child. I was hospitalized and poked and needled and very much aware of it as a teenager. And those stories will echo back into my reality quite from time to time. And I've been working on like clearing it, but it's like there's, a lot around that. And so then I'm in this space with my own children and I'm just thinking, well, that community of like whatever that care is, that whatever they've steeped into the consciousness is, I'm not doing it. And the great thing about 2025 is I'm not alone. It's like, but I keep pushing and expanding for that frequency that how are we not our own health advocates? Like, and I tell, and someone will say, well, I'm scared, or if I didn't do this, and I says, well, if you didn't run to the doctor because you had some issue, maybe your intuition told you to do that. I'm not minimizing that, but my intuition is saying you don't have to do any of that ever, actually. And what does that mean? Like, whoa, like, what do you mean? Like, what? Like, whether it's birth or whether it's health. Like, oh, you have to go get a checkup. And I said, why do I need a checkup? Why do I need to get pelvic floor exams all the time, which felt very traumatizing growing in my 20s? Why do I have to do that? Oh, just in case, right? It's preventative. But I was like, but oh, so I can't tune into my body and listen to it? Nobody has an answer for that.
Yeah, yeah. It's called trust. And the amazing thing is the sacred guardians who you have for your conception, pregnancy, and birth continue with you.
Mm,
Baby, when they're sick, they don't need anything but them. You don't need
yeah.
them. Just lie down and ask for what you want. And
Mm,
that's your out of the system way to heal yourself. And it's the best there is. It's all through frequency. You
mm.
know, you move through whatever the illness is really quick, and you even get the emotional, which there's always an emotional component or an
Oh,
emotional.
always, yep, absolutely. There you go.
Everything is unraveled from the core. It's not just symptoms. It's they go to the core to undo it. So it's your doctor.
Yeah. And just to show to people, again, I'm a statement of the reflection. And so my 14-year-old, not and I'm not telling you to do what I do with my kids, but I think we need to question things and like, what do we actually need? Do we need over intervention? Do we want to teach our future children not to trust their bodies and that some other authority has some wisdom on it? And again, there are some amazing things, of course, that doctors do with like, heart transplants and things and broken bones. But what I'm talking about the other extremeness that we live in that says intervention is everything, even in pregnancy, even after birth. It's like everything is like that. And I feel like we still need to stand stronger and push against that. But my 14-year-old, he went to a Western doctor, I think twice in his life. And that's okay, 14 years, twice. My 9-year-old, only only to get his birth certificate, which I later found out he probably didn't need. That's the only time he's ever went to the doctor. Why? Because he's healthy. There's no reason. Like, there's no reason. And I say that not to brag. I say that because listen, those tuning in, your children, unless they're born with some, issues or have, deeper emotional things, children and like into adults, like we don't have to be sick. It's like nature is nature, and there is a deep level of trust and observation and tuning in and paying attention. But it's like, watching that, and maybe it was a bonus. I nursed my kids. The milk was everything. You're sick, you want the milk. You're emotional, get the milk. Let's do the boob thing. Like I did the boob thing very much a lot. And one, my older one way more because he needed it. He needed that regulation. His birth wasn't very positive, and I do felt like he needed so much repair from me, from us together. And then with my second, it wasn't like that. And also pointing out every child's different, And that birth story, that beginning foundation is everything to who they become. And again, I say that because you're making me think, Sunny, like, oh yeah, like my kids haven't, I don't really think about it, but I know a lot of people that are always taking their kids to the doctor, like they have an ear infection, they have a throat thing, which by the way, I'm pretty sure is a lineage, but that's a whole other conversation. Like, because I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I don't like to believe that children are sick and but children do get sick but what is the energy? You talk about the emotion, it's like the energy and how does it heal and what do I should say what feels best for the parent for sure because some parents may feel like, you know what? I want that doctor or I want that medication and that's your own choice, you know? Don't let me go ranting on here, Sonny.
It didn't sound like a question.
I know, I'm just going on and on. Yeah. I want to hear. Let me see. There's so many things to talk about, but I'm just getting inspired as we go. Um, Let me see. Oh, should we talk about this?
What's this?
Well, I know the going thing. What is your perspective from your own energetic kind of lived experience around all the inductions that are happening now? Like birth inductions. It's like it's literally I call it a trend consciousness. That's my words.
Call it a trap.
Oh, there you go.
I've thought of push to have a baby in a certain timing and a certain date and a certain everything that because the medical profession is easier when they can control it and they want to control the protocols and they want to control the timing and they want to control everything because that's what they're good at. That's what they know. They have their own field of birth and it's full of fear because of all the births that they've seen. They've had the pathology, so of course they're going to be more fearful. And of course the insurance stuff has to do with all of that as well, and so um yeah, I would not pay attention to what due date you have and have a due month. And I would be in a place of extreme trust and know that nature got you pregnant, nature got you got went through the pregnancy with you, nature is going to birth you, with you. There's nothing in the way. You don't have to do prostaglandins or nothing. It just trust, use
Mm.
sacred guardians and just go, okay, I know that you're good at this. it's their it's their forte, you know so so just let me stay away from the hospital totally, and
Mm.
you know and and don't fall for, oh well, now your baby is in trouble. Baloney. Just
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to hear about that because this is the thing. I don't know if people realize is why is everybody's birth an emergency of death?
yeah, that's a
Honestly, like I'm not even joking. It's like this is everybody I hear has this story. Like, but I almost died. But I'm like, did you though? Like, what?
Well, what I just found out is that C-sections that are unexpected, not even emergency, unexpected, cost a
What's
whole lot more.
mm,
And placentas that don't go through a vaginal birth are worth like hundreds of thousands more. So
wow.
of course there's kickbacks, and of course a doctor is going to go, hey, this is the problem, so whisk you off and have a C-section.
Now, this is so rampant. Do you think that all doctors are aware of it? Or are they just conforming to what they learn and their secrets behind that?
I think most doctors are good-hearted people, but I
Yeah.
think that they get kickbacks all the time,
Yeah,
and maybe they
interesting.
don't know that this is for this, but I think they probably do.
That's
you
what
know,
I wonder. Like, what do they like? I have some holistic, more integrative doctor friends. They don't know that, but I almost think that like some of them, they're unconscious to it, maybe because they don't want to know. Do
would
you know
be
what I mean? But
well,
I know, I like how you said that because then I'm wondering like, but yeah, I know, yeah, the placenta is like worth a lot of money. Yeah.
those stem cells and that umbilical
Yeah.
cord is full of them. And so, of course, they're going to cut it. And of course, they're going to charge more for an unviolated, uh,
Mm.
doesn't go through the yoni.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Gosh, I
But
wish we can find like this information, but I guess we know it, but it's like it's so gross and so like, another systems that I feel like another system that needs to collapse and be burnt down to the ground into ashes of nothing to be reborn to what we're bringing to our children for the future. And I know that the placenta often called the forgotten organ, right? Or I just want to like share when I saw my placenta and the cord it was magical. I had no idea I would feel that way with my I got to really see it with my second more. The first it was yeah, that's a whole other conversation, but I'll never forget it because it was oh here right behind me. There's a print. Can you see that? Those that are can watch the YouTube video. That's
yeah,
I just put that up for you, Sunny, like yesterday because I was like, what a picture. I was trying to play around. I'm gonna leave it up, but that's my son's placenta print with some type of green. I don't know what you call that. I have a red one too, or a pink one. But it was a really beautiful experience. I guess I had a connection with it and I didn't know it until I saw delivering the placenta is the easiest thing ever. I would deliver 100 placentas because I'd push that head out. Anyways, but looking at the cord was so amazing. It was thick and beautiful and white. It was like rainbowy or something, and it was strong. And I was like,
energy is huge.
oh my gosh, like what
Yeah.
this is what we're missing in birth is like, and again, I've had that hospital connection and it was not like that at all. But at home, it was like, yeah, like I was not expecting that experience and it was as though it was communicating to me, in some way. And I have my son here that's like in the world and I'm just like, what is this like placenta thing and what is this cord? Because we kept the cord and everything was all attached, and nothing was like pulled out or anything was it was just like being with it just being with it. But I know you talked on your website about, lotus births and things, right? Yeah,
And
that
this
would have been neat.
magical placenta and cord is what you and your husband created. It comes
Oh,
from both of your cells, and so it is exactly um, what does everything for the baby. It's just total total womb magic.
I love that. Do you talk about that in your book then?
Oh, there's a whole chapter on the placenta. Yeah.
I may be reading it and I don't even know it. That's hilarious. I love that.
The latest version, the 25 version, is much more aligned, but also um, I think potent. And I have told the truth, and I know that's difficult for people. Um, and I think that's what birthing from within made so sure that nobody felt guilty about their birth. But it's not about whether mom feels guilty about what happened. It's about knowing the truth so that you can do something different. If you know the truth, you're going to head in the other way. If you know the truth, you're going to say, okay, then I'm not going to that hospital or not that hospital or no hospital because this is the financial bottom line of the entire hospital.
Mm,
So, of course, that's where all the money's coming from. And that means, of course, that there's protocols that are not for the good of the mother and that are not for the
mm,
good of the baby. They are solely for the good of the doctor, the nurses, and the protocol of the institution. So once you see the truth of that, then you're going to go in the other direction. And anyway, the other direction is the harmless direction with soft birth.
Yes.
And that's the whole purpose. If you have a soft birth at home, in the quiet, in the nothing interrupts it. You have the nature around you, your trees, your grass,
Mm,
it's all there. And when there's silence, then mom and dad can dig deep into who they are. They can know their intuition. They can know
mm,
between them. They can know all that they need to know in order to birth this baby. Nobody's telling them anything. You know,
mm,
birth has such a thing of, we don't want anybody telling us. Well, you don't need anybody telling you anything. Even
yeah.
if there's a midwife there, even if there's a doula there, nobody's going to tell you anything unless you are looking for it, unless you are needing it. If so, so we we get to choose all that feels good. And how do you know that? You know it because all of pregnancy you've been practicing. You've been practicing trust. You've been practicing your empowerment by saying no to certain people,
Mm,
saying no to certain procedures, and it's hard. It's hard as a young mom to say no when we have never been taught that. We've been taught, oh, be a good girl and
yeah.
what you know to do, you know,
Or you
and
just don't think about it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I think that's what me and you do is we go, hey, maybe question it, maybe think about it, maybe sit in your body and see, does
Mhm.
that work for you? And I love that energy of like, let's just sit with your own body and look at whatever comes up. Something else you said that felt really powerful, and this thing I know you see a lot because you're like really in that birth space where sometimes I feel like the birth space sometimes makes me sit on the outside because I'm not a midwife, I'm not a doula, and I'm on the outside. And I think there's a reason for that because anytime I try to go in or I say something, it's not taken properly or it's like interpreted, especially on Instagram. With there's something about inductions and I made one little comment. Oh my gosh, like 50 comments later, people loving me and hating me and I barely said anything. I was like my frequency is like pisses people off, I realize sometimes, and I have to be okay with that. I was like I barely even say anything. But something else you said on top of that is people I feel like a mother, and this is where it felt really powerful that you said this. It's like we have to be truthful. Like you had a cesarean birth, maybe you didn't need it, and now you have regret and guilt and fear. That's okay. Work through that shit because it's still bad what happened to your kid and it's still traumatic. Like that's what I don't want to bullshit people on is like, hey, moms, like I'm not there to make you feel bad. I can really tune in, but it's like, let's do better. Like I know with my first birth and the way it was happening was like literally liminal space. I don't even know. And I'm going into it and all this stuff. And I know that was creating trauma and stuff, but I was held by my own paralysis of my own nervous system. And then, but I knew the repair and I didn't, I'm not going to sit and regret or this, but there are things that happen that shouldn't have happened. And I was not happy. And by me going there and feeling like, as their agitated energy, then maybe there's still a wound. Or is it I can look at it like a movie screen, like, oh, that happened. And how can we, yeah, continue to do better? And why I say that, because I felt like you were saying that. And I know those that are tuning in, maybe they've had traumatic experiences and they haven't fully released it actually or dispersed it out of their nervous system. So if you're agitated by that conversation, then there's some inner work for you because really what we're doing, I feel like, is we're trying to make that safe space for baby and mom in a way where we do have to be like we have to step forward in our own responsibility, even with our traumas, right? It's like because I see this a lot in the birth work. Maybe you see this too, right? Where people are like, "But I would have died! Like, how dare you?" Or they saved my life, and it's like, what is that? That even? slogan or like thought process. It's like, but I would have died is like,
They belong in the hospital. Their fear level is so high that they
yeah,
belong in the hospital, and they're right. And maybe they would have died, you know. So
yeah.
we step back from their truth because that is true for them, you know, and it's okay. And maybe if they have two more other babies, they'll see things a little differently along the way.
Yeah. But I think overall it's like, yeah, let's be honest. It's like trying to be honest, but again, with the most love and compassion, because I feel like we can't keep fooling each other. And I do see a lot of healers and birth workers doing that. Like, yeah, ultimately you're gonna have to make your own decision, but and I know it's not about me, like when I'm in spaces, but I'm also like, hey, sit with that really, like, sink in and see. Um, because yeah, I feel like, there's so much intervention on infants when they're born, growing up. It's like, wow, like, so something's always wrong with us, is really what we're saying. There's something wrong. Babies don't know how to be born. Babies don't know how to heal. Babies have to be injected with all kinds of things. Like, but what if they're not?
What what it all comes down to is trust. You trust in the body, trust in nature, trust in uh, uh, even an illness, childhood illnesses, any illness is the body saying something to us. So don't get rid of it. Support it
Mm,
by the bed of the child and read them books and tell them nursery rhymes and do the kind of nursing that nursing used to be. You know, not pick
mm,
up the pill and go on with your day, but them, you know, and then they can move through it and transform through it, and it's not just, you know, something's wrong and I'm going to get these things that are wrong with me every so often. You know, sickness is not that. Sickness is a wonderful healer.
mm. So we're coming close to the end here, and let's just try to wrap it up. Like any final, I don't know, love words or the future of birthing. That's a big question. The future of birthing. Can we say anything positive about it? What would you feel?
It's magnificent. Of course we can say something positive about it. It is so much more coherent and magnificent than we give it credit for. You know, when you include nature with this whole process, we become who we were always meant to be. When we are integrated with nature, then nature can work with us. You know, it's a flow, it's a beauty,
Mm,
it's the gifts that that nature and humanity is. You know, we just have to invite them. We
mm,
just have to conscious and realize, well, of course I'm nature. You know, this is not a religion. This is a choice to have the help that is naturally ours. You know, so yes, birth can be most amazing. It is most amazing. Even if it's a C-section birth, it is amazing. You know, and then we work with the problems that the C-section created to rebalance them during the first 7 years, and then the first 14 years, and then the first 21 years. We rebalance what hurts, you know, and even if your child is older and not a toddler or something, you know, when his birthday comes around, or when he's sick, or when he's falling asleep at night, go stand by the bed and just think to him. Tell him all about his birth. Tell him
mm,
tell him the parts that you don't want to tell him. Tell him the beauty, tell him the feelings, tell him the pain, tell him everything. And his even though he's older, his um aura and fields and subtle bodies will take that information in and allow that child or toddler or infant to rework himself. It's a magnificent project, and you don't do it just once, offer it again, and you'll surprise yourself of remembering different things often. But start from the beginning. I first knew I was in labor when, and dot dot dot, and tell your baby everything. And don't just say the good stuff. Say the part that hurts, because that's what needs to match up with their body and their nervous system. Yeah.
I
So
love all that. Thank you so much for saying that. That felt like such a great offering for those again that after birth and the miracle of life and pregnancy and all that beautiful stuff. And just tell us next now, how can people contact you? Whether website and email, Instagram, wherever you're at.
I do birth trauma work, and you can get in touch with me by writing in on sacredbirthing.com, and also .org is the Mighty Networks Zoom talks, and a whole library of other things. They're also on sacredbirthing.com. What else? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for being here and sharing all this. I feel like I could keep talking. There's so many things to keep talking about. Like, there's so much.
Yeah, there are. But the beautiful always overwhelms the miserable. So remember the miracles of getting pregnant, the miracles of being in a pregnant body, and realizing that if you squat, there's just enough room for a baby's head to come out.
Mm.
I mean, there's so many miracles in the human body, and we just have forgotten it all.
Love that.
So there's just, it's miraculous.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for joining episode 223, September 2025, Sacred Birthing. The future of our babies is determined by our voices, actions, and instincts. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.